In this video, I'll be demonstrating my watercolor portrait process from beginning to end. We'll start with the drawing, explore how I mix and layer skin tones, create soft, supportive background washes, and finish with the details that add character and depth. This is a great overview of how all the pieces come together in a portrait painting, so let's jump in. Before we get into the demo, let's talk about the supplies I used for this portrait of lovely Ona. My paper is Fabriano Artistico 140-pound cold-pressed cotton watercolor paper on a 5x7-inch block. I'm just using a Pentel Twist Erase mechanical pencil and a kneaded eraser for the sketch. And then my paints are the Daniel Smith set of 6 essential colors. That includes Hansa Yellow Light, New Gamboge, Pyrrole Scarlet, Quinacridone Rose, French Ultramarine, and Phthalo Blue. And I'm just using a handmade ceramic palette that I purchased on Etsy. My brush is a silver black velvet size 8 round brush, and my reference image is from a really special program called Broadcasting Brushers. It's headed up by Stephanie Page Thompson, who's an amazing oil painter and portrait artist, and she has a Patreon where you can actually attend a 4K live stream twice a month and paint along with a fantastic group of artists in real time from a live model. I'll leave a link in the description for more details about that if you'd like to join the group. And when you're a member of Stephanie's Patreon, all the reference images are available for your use. All right, I always start with a sketch. I'm just working from my screen, of course, and I like to tilt my board upright so I don't accidentally elongate any of the facial features or proportions. Once I have the placement and sizing where I'd like them to be, then I can slow down and start to draw in some facial features. Now, I don't usually start with details like this. Usually I work a little bit more general to specific, but because our model was holding so still and it seemed like a good place to start, I began with the eyes and worked on placement. When you're looking at a 3/4 angle like this, the far eye is going to be much smaller from your perspective. You can check things like distance from nose to corners of the eyes, check the height of the forehead to the eyebrows, check the width of the nose and flare of the nostril to ear. These are all different measurements you can make in your head as you're sketching. And I know at first sketching can be really tricky and making those visual comparisons can be really difficult, but it does get easier with practice. So working from a live model like this is one of the best ways to improve your sketching. The kneaded eraser comes in handy so that you can correct any marks without leaving any residue on your paper. And I really like the mechanical pencils for basic sketches just because I don't ever have to sharpen them, which definitely saves time. Altogether, the sketch took me about 20 minutes. I just love sketching portraits. It's one of my favorite things to do, and it's something I've done for a long time. So if you're still struggling with your sketches, don't worry. Just keep trying, keep practicing. It will get easier. Now, before I began painting, I just made a couple more modifications to the sketch. The nose wasn't quite right, and she has such a beautiful nose, so I wanted to make sure I represented that accurately. And I just touched up a few little details in her eyes and nose as well. It is very important to be happy with your sketch before you start the painting process. No amount of paint is going to actually fix your sketch if you're not happy with it. So definitely check and double check, draw and redraw whatever you need to until you're happy with your sketch. Now for my first wash, I almost always begin with the background. I tend to prefer cool colors for the backgrounds because they recede in space and help the warmth of the skin tones come forward. So here I mix up a combination of French Ultramarine, Pyrrole Scarlet, and Hansa Yellow Light. So all 3 primaries to create sort of a neutral gray for a background wash. It's important to have enough paint so that you can cover the whole area, especially if you're working on larger paper. With a small 5x7-inch painting like this, I really don't need to mix up a lot of paint. It's also nice to add some variety in the background with more pure pops of color. Like here you see me adding in some pure French Ultramarine and then going back in with the neutral purplish gray that I've mixed up. Of course, you can tilt your paper and move it around so that you can get a better angle on some of those edges. I wanted to make sure that the profile of the face was accurately represented, so I really have to slow down my pace when I'm painting around really important features like that. When it comes to areas like the shoulders and the hair, I don't have to be quite as accurate. I can be a little more messy with my brush strokes and even overlap some of that background color into areas like the hair where I plan on going darker anyway. Whenever possible, try to incorporate background elements into your actual subject, especially if you're working on a portrait like this. You'll find that it helps merge those elements and make it feel more like a complete composition rather than just a background and a portrait, two separate entities. We want it all to be one complete painting. So the more ways you can think about unifying those things, the better. So I used that neutral gray to block in the hair and the shadow tones in the braid. And for my skin tone, I mixed up a light mix of quinacridone rose and new gamboge. I start by applying delicate brush strokes, working around the highlights. Then I rinse and dry my brush and soften the edges. For skin, especially smooth skin on a beautiful woman like this, you need to do lots of blending. And if blending is something you're still not very comfortable with, I do have some videos specifically about that technique. This is more of a wet on dry blending technique you're seeing me use here. I haven't wet the paper at all. I'm working on dry paper. So what I do is I apply specific brush strokes, and then I gently rinse and dry slightly the brush, and I take the damp brush and soften the edges by swiping along those brush strokes before they're dry. And on the cheek there, I'm applying slightly more warm colors. You can adjust how warm or cool this mix is by adding either more or less yellow, more or less pink. You can see there's more new gamboge in the neck here and on the shoulders, a little more quinacridone rose on the shoulder and arm. So it's a constant dance between different color mixes and how much water is in your paint. Now, where a lot of beginners struggle is with paint dilution. They tend to go in with too strong of paint. Watercolors are meant to be used with water. However, you do have to control how much water is in your brush. So you can dilute the paint on the palette and then remove excess water from your brush simply by blotting on a paper towel. And this is a constant thing I'm doing, especially when painting portraits, is just controlling how much water is in the brush. Now here I've switched to a silver Belle Aqua small round brush for the details of the facial features, and I'm just starting to use slightly more pigment, less water, and we're going darker and darker gradually. This is called glazing, when you layer wet layers of paint over the top of dry layers of paint. And of course, you'll still see me using that same wet on dry blending technique where I lay down brush strokes, rinse the brush, and then soften those edges. Under the chin, I used a bit more Pyrrole Scarlet and New Gamboge for a brighter pop of orange. It's a bit of reflected light under that neck. And then we've got those streamers or ribbons coming down from her crown in the yellows and reds. And for a first wash on her braid, I used a combination of Pyrrole Scarlet, New Gamboge, and a little bit of ultramarine to neutralize that into a nice brown. Now for the eyes, I create black with these Daniel Smith Essential Colors by mixing Pyrrole Scarlet and Phthalo Blue Green shade. These two colors combined create such a great black. What I love about mixing my blacks is that I can adjust how warm or cool they are depending on whether I have more blue or more red in the mix. Here you see me mixing that combo up again for more of these tiny, delicate facial features. And it's really important when you're painting eyes to preserve that tiny highlight in the center of the iris and pupil. This is going to help direct her gaze and also make her more lifelike. For the eyebrows, I never do just a harsh line marking the whole eyebrow shape. I use teeny tiny little brush strokes moving in the direction that the hairs are growing. Now, because this portrait is so tiny, I really have to slow down. What you're seeing here is actually sped up about 4 times faster than how I was actually painting. But yeah, so my pace is really quite slow in reality. And one brush stroke at a time, I just keep layering that same combination of quinacridone rose and New Gamboge, applying brush strokes and then softening the edges and carefully working around the highlights, especially on the nose, along the front of the cheeks, along the chin. The lighting on this portrait is so beautiful in the reference image, and it made it very easy to see where the light and shadow are. Now, if you're still a beginner and you're struggling with some of these basic concepts like blending, wet on wet, wet on dry, there are over 200 courses available through my Watercolor Mastery membership, including a beginner's 30-day challenge where you can learn all of the basic techniques that you need to know to get started with watercolor. There are also full-length portrait tutorials narrated in real time, tutorials all about animals, birds, landscapes, flowers, and so much more. I'll leave a link in the description so you can check out the Watercolor Mastery membership. It's near and dear to my heart and something I've been working on for over 6 years, so tons of great content over there if you want to learn more about watercolor. Now I'm taking some of that purple mix that I used in the background and using that to intensify the shadow on her jaw and on her cheek, adding a bit more depth to the chest with some more of that skin tone that I mixed up with Pyrrole Scarlet, Quinacridone Rose, New Gamboge. Those are the 3 colors I use mainly for the skin tones here. Now, sometimes I start with a blue underpainting on skin, but in this reference image, her skin just seemed really warm and I didn't see a ton of blue undertones in it. So I opted not to use that technique for this particular painting. If you're curious about what I'm talking about with blue undertones, I do have a video about that. You can check that out after this. Now for the hair, again, I used that black combo of Pyrrole Scarlet and Phthalo Blue green shade. I'm still using my small brush and moving my brush in the direction that the hair is growing, leaving some of that underpainting shining through for the highlights on the hair so that it looks shiny and soft, and always softening edges wherever needed. Now make sure if you're working in glazes and in layers like this that you wait for the layers underneath to dry before applying the next layer. Fortunately, I live in a pretty dry climate in Colorado, and so my paper actually dries really fast. It's almost like I can just do a couple of brush strokes and then work elsewhere, and by the time I come back, it's already dry. Now, if you live in a more humid environment, you may need to wait longer for those layers to dry. You can tell if it's still damp if you hold your hand or hover your hand over it and it feels cool to the touch. Just wait a little bit longer until it's bone dry before applying those next layers. Now here on the hair, it is actually still damp before I apply these dark shadow tones in the braid, and that's okay. That's called damp on damp. You can also do that. You just have to make sure you're controlling how much water is in your brush when you use this technique. And coming back to the face, I'm continuing to apply a few more layers. I have lost count of how many glazes I've put on that shadow side of the face, but you'll notice I've been very conservative with it, not going too dark too soon, and I think that lends to a more complex and rich look to the overall painting, rather than just going in guns a-blazing with one layer trying to get it right on the first pass. This is a much more calculated, careful approach to painting portraits. You may see other artists working in much more wet and wet, and that is not wrong. This is not wrong. There are so many different ways to approach a portrait, and that should make you happy because that means that whatever approach you decide works best for you is the right way. It's wonderful to be able to work with models like this, especially if you have maybe a picture that you really want to paint of a beloved family member. When you're practicing with a model that you don't necessarily know, there's a lot less pressure and you feel like you can let go a little bit and experiment more and just have fun with it. And then when you've done a few practice runs like this with a no pressure situation, you'll be much more equipped to paint those portraits that are so meaningful to you. So take the time to practice with people you don't know so that you can experiment and just have fun with the portrait process. Now for the final steps of her costume, I just went bolder and brighter with my yellows and reds and had tons of fun with pure pigment, pretty much pulled directly out of the palette. For the shadow tones in the red, I just used that same combination of phthalo blue and Pyrrole Scarlet. And you'll notice that my brush strokes are getting much looser and less careful, especially in these areas that are moving away from the focal point. Before you do a painting, you should set an intention for it, decide what is it that's important to you to really bring out and emphasize in this painting. And whenever it's a portrait, of course, generally that's going to be the face. Certainly in this case, the face is the focal point. So all of these areas that are far away from the focal point do not need to be super detailed. You can work loosely. You can see my fingers are not choked up quite as high on the brush. I'm not being quite as tight. Now the braid needs some more color, some more darkness to it. So I'm adding in some more rich chocolatey browns and darker colors, leaving the highlights where there's that raised area of each portion of the braid, and more specific curved brush strokes to suggest hair texture as the braid cascades over her shoulder. But there she is, the finished portrait of Omna. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. Thank you for watching today. Check out the Watercolor Mastery membership for more instruction like this, and I hope to see you over there.